Welcome to this remote presentation, City Food, Research Design for an International Transdisciplinary Collaboration, in the TED Special Focus Session. My name is Gundula Proksch, and I'm an associate professor at the University of Washington and the director of the Circular City and Living Systems Lab. I worked on this paper with my colleague Daniela Bagans at the Leibniz Institute of Freshwater Ecology and Inland Fisheries. The paper was published in the Research Methodologies section of the TED issue translation. In this presentation, I will first introduce you briefly to the City Food team, our research content, and strategies. I will then share some of the research currently conducted and our first reflection on the collaborative research process. City Food is a research consortium that investigates the potential for urban integration of aquaponic growing systems in the context of the food-water-energy nexus. This 3-year-long research project was initiated by a Sustainable Urbanization Global Initiative call, jointly established by the Belmont Forum and Joint Program Initiative Urban Europe. The project receives funding from the EU and the National Science Foundation. City Food has 6 project partners. 4 are located in Europe, in Germany, the Netherlands, Sweden, and Norway. 1 is located in Brazil, and our team is located here in the US. It is important to point out the diverse expertise the partners bring to the project. Most teams have a background in aquaculture or aquaponics. The team in the Netherlands also provides backgrounds in food systems and applied mathematics, while the team in Berlin and our team in
Seattle contribute the built environment perspective.
What you see here is the diagram our project planning started with. It is still a good conceptual representation of our collaboration. The project is structured into 4 interconnected research activities or work packages. Work Package 1 evaluates the existing knowledge on aquaponics. Work Package 2 investigates urban capacities for its integration in cities. Work Package 3 models the system performance of different scales. And Work Package 4 assesses the practice of aquaponics and collects data for validation purposes. The 2 additional work packages, 5 and 6, improve the workflows through a specific focus on dissemination and outreach, as well as project coordination and management. Before we go further into the research design, I would like to briefly introduce aquaponics, which is a combination of aquaculture or fish farming and the hydroponic cultivation of plants. In a coupled aquaponic system, which you see represented here, water containing fish waste supplies nutrients to the crops that then filter the water so that it can be returned to the fish tanks safely. With this nutrient cycling, the system essentially mimics the efficiency of a natural ecosystem. With our perspective on the urban integration of commercial aquaponic farms, it is important to point out that aquaponics occupies the center of this matrix of growing systems used in urban agriculture. It sits in the sweet spot between more natural or ecological system because it provides its own nutrients through the fish cultivation, but it needs also technology, namely greenhouses or an indoor growing space, to be operated as a controlled environment agriculture. This need for enclosure makes aquaponics potentially more suitable for the placement in cities. Most of the commercial farms we investigated use greenhouses to house their hydroponic component, while also a growing number operates in indoor grow spaces with LED light for the plant production. After identifying the basic needs of commercial operations, we asked ourselves which built environment scales do we need to take into consideration to assess the potential for these farms to be integrated in cities. We identified three major scales: the aquaponic system scale, the farm scale, and the city scale. This looks straightforward now, though visualizing these scales in a simple diagram was a major breakthrough in the internal communication between built environment and aquaculture experts across our teams. Our literature review conducted in parallel also revealed that about 80% of the current research production investigates aquaponics on the growing system scale, and relatively few publications consider the farm or city scale. Therefore, our thinking in these three scales revealed further the research gap that we are intending to bridge with the City Food project. To more effectively integrate these scales, we developed the tool of a research matrix. The matrix lists the built environment scales and the research questions relevant to the urban integration. At each intersection, we list the topics and concepts relevant to answer the research question at that particular scale. The research matrix can be both used as a planning tool for the implementation of our research design, as well as an internal assessment tool how well we cover the different scales. So in this case, we have listed our work packages on the right and see what scales each of them covers. And then finally, during our planning process, we looked at how interconnected our work packages and research methodologies are. In this workflow diagram, we show interactions between the four main work packages and the various stakeholder groups involved in this transdisciplinary project. Work package 1, shown here in green, frames the City Food project by collecting existing knowledge and results into a repository and by creating a public phase in form of an interactive website. At the core of the project sits Work Package 4, here shown in orange. It assesses the practice of aquaponics by collecting data directly from living labs and commercial aquaponic farms. It builds collaboration with practitioners and furthermore provides data to validate the assumption of work packages 2 and 3. Work package 3, shown here in light blue, uses numerical models to assess the performance and impact of the practices observed. And work package 2, shown in darker blue, applies GIS-based methods to examine the capacity of cities to implement aquaponic operations. The research activities 2, 3, and 4 synergize their findings in an iterative feedback loop of real-world data assessment, modeling, and mapping to understand the innovative potential of urban aquaponics. Now I will walk you quickly through some of the investigations we are currently working on. In Work Package 1, we developed a taxonomy of terms that will become the information architecture of an interactive website, here seen as a prototype. As part of work package 2, we work on GIS-based analysis that establishes methodologies for site resource inventories. We identified urban typologies, how aquaponics could be integrated as rooftop greenhouses, vertical indoor farms, or ground-based greenhouses in the periphery of cities. We look at building integration, as here in the case study of Big in Brussels. And we started to investigate which synergies system integration could provide. If you are interested in this topic, please join our presentation on Friday, Building an Ecosystem, Integrating Rooftop Aquaponics with a Brewery to Advance the Circular Economy. As part of work package 3, our colleagues Simon Godak and Oliver Körner developed a simulation model that looks at both the aquaculture facility connected to the greenhouse. Oliver and Simon are currently conducting a life cycle assessment of the full scope of this model facility. As part of Work Package 4, 3 of our project's partner operate aquaponic living labs. They collect data in those labs and educate different stakeholder groups about the environmental benefits and practices of aquaponics. Our team in Seattle contributes case study research to Work Package 4. We are maintaining a case study directory in which we include all aquaponics operations. At the moment, we have about 500 entries. We create a case study database for each of our investigation with relevant data to answer this specific research question. And finally, as part of Work Package 5, our colleague Alyssa Joyce produced a feature-length documentary that endorses aquaponic food production and will be broadcast on national TV in Sweden. So this was a quick overview. While completing the paper for TED, the City Food Consortium was discussing how to synthesize our research findings generated by 6 teams. I can now report that we have started the process of co-authoring research papers, taking a selected research question comprehensively through all scales laid out in our research matrix. We continue to address the diverse audiences such as scientists, practitioners, and the general public, and we will provide open access to our findings through our aquaponic knowledge base website. Overall, we hope to develop a model for the dissemination of transdisciplinary research. Working on this TED paper advanced the thinking about our research design immensely. It gave us the opportunity to discover and clearly articulate connections and synergies. A big thank you to the entire TED team and especially to Karen, Marcy, Claire, and Scott for their insightful input and guidance throughout the writing and production process. I would like to end with a word of encouragement to all the listeners to look out for opportunities to engage in interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary research. The work on the City Food project over the last 2 years has shown us that architects and built environment professionals are uniquely positioned and equipped to raise essential real-world questions across scales and to bolster impactful transdisciplinary collaborations. Thank you for listening.